Now, once an entrepreneur decides to take the financial risk, put in the effort and the time to start a business, they have to make an important decision regarding what type of product they have to produce and exactly what types of customers are going to be coming to buy your particular product. And that decision revolves around the three levels of business activity that businesses find themselves in. Now, primary sector, secondary sector, and the tertiary sector, the three sectors collectively form what we call the levels of business activity. And you will see that different businesses are involved in multiple sectors or just by one sector by itself. Starting with the first one, primary sector. Now, any business that deals with extraction of raw materials. When I say extraction of raw materials, of course, that means maybe a farmer or an oil drilling company or a logger, anything that is being provided to other businesses in the form of raw materials. So in its most basic form, raw material could be oil, could be wood, could be nails, could be glue. Once they are combined to produce something, then they become a final product. So once a business has decided to just stick with the raw material side of things, provided the basis, the resource that is required to produce a good or a service, a good product or a service, we call such businesses primary sector businesses. And some examples of these would be, as I just explained, be fishing or mining, for example, drilling for oil. All such activities would be considered part of the primary sector. And those businesses that take care of the manufacturing side of production. All these raw materials, once they are collected and sold by the primary sector businesses, they are moved on to secondary sector businesses from the primary sector. That means the production, the transformation, the manufacturing, all that falls under the secondary sector umbrella. So production or manufacturing is what secondary sector is. It's basically converting raw materials, just going to write raw M for that, raw materials into a finished good, something that you can sell for profit as a business. And that's really what you're looking to do, have a product that you can sell. And here you have something in its complete form, as opposed to in primary sector where things were still in its raw material form. Some of the examples would be a lot of products that you use. For example, your phone. Some raw materials went in to produce it. Perhaps a car manufacturer, Toyota. Toyota buys raw materials, steel, electrical wiring and screens and glass and things like that, and they put it all together at their factory. So their business is of a secondary nature from the secondary sector, having to do with production and manufacturing of goods. And we also discussed, if you remember in our first chapter, that there are two types of product. Okay? Of course, there's the goods, where things that you can touch, you can feel, you can hold, you can assess quality of before paying for it. Those are goods. Services, on the other hand, also a type of product. The difference being that you cannot see services. They are intangible, yet you know that you derive direct benefit from it. And examples would be your phone service, internet, Netflix, all the services, all the things that that provide you some sort of benefit. You feel entertained, for example, from Netflix, and you are paying for it. All such businesses are in the tertiary sector of activity. So anything that has to do with providing services, such business would be under the tertiary sector. Okay, thing to remember is that, of course, since these are services, these are intangible. You can't see them, you can't touch them, but you know that upon utilizing them, you will receive some sort of satisfaction. Example, hopefully you guys are learning this well. So the education that you are receiving right now is a form of service. The reason that you're able to access it is the internet. It's also a service. You may call your friends later on for a game on the PlayStation. So any phone service provider would also be considered part of the tertiary sector. And one more thing that I would like to highlight here specifically is that any retail shop that you see, for example, your corner grocery store, all retail stores are also considered part of the tertiary sector. Because if you think about it, they're not producing anything there. All they do is they buy whatever product they need to shelf from the producer. So let's say Coca-Cola, you would get a fridge, even that would be provided by Coca-Cola, and you would stock it from the product being made by Coca-Cola in their own factories. What the grocery store or this retail store in this instance is only doing is providing a space, a service for the customers to get there and for the producers to put their products there and trade to take place. So retail shops are also considered part of the tertiary sector. These are the three levels of business activity. Now, of course, since the turn of the century, we've seen more and newer technology becoming mainstream, more and more tertiary sector businesses are becoming the norm. Okay, the biggest companies maybe 30 years ago were all into manufacturing, mostly oil manufacturing, so refining and things like that, companies like Aramco. But now you see if you see the top 10 largest companies in the world, you will notice that most of them will be from the tertiary sector. Facebook and Amazon, all these big companies. Facebook obviously is now Meta. We'll also be current with the world. So Meta again is a tertiary sector business, and we see that more and more consumers are now being attracted towards the service sector. But that was not always the case, because of course back in the day technology was not the same and most people were involved in the primary sector. And slowly but surely we saw businesses moving away from the primary sector and moving towards the secondary sector first, and then now towards the tertiary sector. And the movement from the primary sector to the secondary sector, obviously I'm talking about the previous century, from the start till pretty much the end, more businesses moved away from farming, from fishing and other things like that, the more rudimentary work, and moved towards production when they figured out that they can convert their raw material into a product by manufacturing it, by adding more value. And the more value you add to a product, the more you're able to sell for a profit. So this transition took place. And this movement from primary to the secondary sector is called industrialization. Okay, coming from the words industrialize or industry, setting up factories, production plants, things like that, would all be considered under industrialization, movement from the primary to the secondary sector. Now, there are some clear advantages when this process of industrialization takes place. And first and foremost, obviously what it does is that it increases the ability to produce goods for the company or for the country, in fact, as a whole, which increases the gross domestic product or the GDP. As we discussed previously as well, it tells you the ability of a country rather to produce as a whole. If you can have more businesses, that means more people are employed, more and more products are being produced. That's a good sign for a country, and that's what increasing GDP means. Also, if you make more products, you can export more products. And exports are good because you sell products to people all around the world and they pay you in foreign currency, dollars, and that's always desirable for a country. You also see that people's living standards go up. Okay, when they're offered better products. For example, if you were still in the primary sector, you would only be providing people with oranges. But if you're in the secondary sector, then you can make orange juice from it. So it allows you to add value to the product, which obviously adds to the living standards of people. At the same time, with more and more industries being set up, we will also see an increase in the number of jobs that are being created. Okay, so clearly these are benefits that industrialization provided to the whole world. However, there are also some problems that we must address when it comes to industrialization. And the first thing that it does, and people living in large cities will understand this, that it increases the amount of congestion simply because more and more people are living there. So, little towns become massive cities, and there are obviously problems with providing the proper infrastructure. That will be one problem created by more and more factories being set up. And also, when companies get bigger and bigger, you can't provide all the resources from within a country. You will have to import some things because not everything is provided in a country. For example, if I want to make cars here, I will not have the technology or the know-how to make engines, for example, and that's something that I'll have to import from for a company that is probably in Japan, that is more of an expert in making that. So you can't make all the things yourself. You will need to import certain raw materials, and the increase in import would mean that instead of making money from the rest of the world, you're paying to the rest of the world, and that means in a way the country will be getting poorer because more money is leaving the country rather than entering, which would have been the case had you increased your exports. So yes, it comes with its goods and its bad, but we've seen this transition take place over the previous number of decades where businesses have moved away from the primary sector and they have involved themselves in the production side. Okay, now it didn't stop there. As we know nowadays, services are more common. When I say more common, that's more easily accessible for us. You switch on your phone and so many services can come up. If you're looking at this video from your phone, that's because the phone service provided you with internet, and this whole education is being provided through a cloud service. So all these services have made it possible, which are part of the tertiary sector. And because of the benefits that come with the service sector, it takes little investment and you can keep adding more and more customers to it. Because of those benefits, you see companies now moving slowly towards the tertiary sector. And that transition is called de-industrialization. Okay, this is where you're moving away from the secondary sector and moving towards tertiary sector, like internet service being provided to the different handheld devices. Those are your tertiary sector businesses, and when you move towards them, we call that the whole economy is moving. It's not like one or two businesses. You're seeing a general trend developing. Let's leave the production behind. Let's go towards providing services, and that process is industrialization. Now, of course, one of the main reasons why more businesses are in getting towards service industry is because it's easily scalable, meaning that you can keep adding customers at an exponential level, more and more people, by putting in just a little bit of effort. By developing an app, you can have from 100 people to thousands of people within a week if you're a successful business. So that scalability, multiplication of customers is easier, but obviously remember, no business is easy. You have to put in the effort, but the consumer side, it becomes easier if you have the right product. And there are also some obvious benefits of going towards deindustrialization. And the first thing is, as we've seen in the recent past and last few decades, people have generally seen an increase in their incomes. Yeah. And when there's an increase in incomes, they're looking for newer ways to spend, newer stuff to buy, newer services to try. And that's where these businesses are making their place in the industries. That we will be there when people desire a product, and with higher incomes, there will be some sort of new demand coming up. So creation of social media, again, one of those services being provided by a company. And it has really benefited certain industries, like things like, for example, hoteling. Every time I travel, I try to go through apps like Expedia and Hotel.com and Booking.com to see what are my best options tourism, all those have really benefited from being on a service based platform where customers can look at the services before booking them, make comparisons, and if your product really is better than the rest, you will end up having the edge. So clearly benefits of operating in the tertiary sector. However, a small problem would be that you see a decrease in the production of physical goods because the demand of physical goods start going down. Okay, people don't really buy a, let's say, cricket bat or ball, for example. They would rather play a game on their phone. So because there's a service there, you're able to simply access through your phone. You may not end up buying the physical goods. So those companies that are involved in the secondary sector, still producing physical goods, they will see a decrease in the demand of their product. So there have been over the past these transitions, and as we go more towards the future, we see more and more tertiary sector businesses being set up. Wanting to grow and wanting to be large in size, being able to cater to more people is always a desirable objective for a business. But you always start off small. If you remember from our discussion earlier, all businesses face a scarcity of resources. So from whatever combination you can pick from what's available to you, you would try to start off at a small level, perhaps at a local level. Okay? That's where the businesses are operating in a well-defined part of a country, a small local area. They're not looking to expand, not looking to grow, just happy with the scale of operations. So things like your preferred hair salon, any family business being close to the place of residence of the family, all those businesses will be considered local businesses. But of course, once you have catered to all the people within a certain area, and you still have a capability to cater to demands and needs of other people, you'd want to go to a much larger level. And that's where you target a national level. Okay, national level is where you have branches all over the country, different cities. You can move labor, products from one city to the other, like large car dealers, national banks, insurance companies. All those that you can see all over the country would be considered national businesses. And finally, international. Okay, that's where the whole world opens up for you. Different kinds of people, yes, but if smart business can find different ways to target different customers and please them for their money. And that's where you try to have operations and branches all over the world, trying to make sure that you can cater to every kind of customer in the country that they live in by becoming a multinational business. So you see companies like Meta, now of course, our social media platform that is all across the world. So as a way of growing, businesses would want to leave a certain area and want to go from being local to national to being an international business.